It seems to be the reasonable thing to do. You're not feeling well, you have a headache, maybe a slight fever, and you're a little bit congested. So you run out to the nearest pharmacy and pick up whatever you can find in the cold and flu aisle that will promise at least a couple of hours of sleep. Several days pass by in a hazy fog. Your symptoms are under control, but the sickness is lingering. Your doctor tells you that it will take at least a week or two to heal and for the illness to completely leave your system. So stay medicated and continue to get plenty of rest. Question: is this not the most frustrating advice ever? How are you supposed to do anything, to be productive, to work diligently and effectively in this foggy, pseudo-sick haze? It is not God's intention that we fall ill. It is not His desire to see His children weak and suffering. In fact, it is His desire that we live abundantly and in good health. In Romans 12:1, Paul urges us to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. And then he says something very interesting, which is your reasonable service. In other words, there's not a whole lot that's being asked of us here. It's practical, sensible. Not only does this completely rational principle please God, but it is for our benefit as well. For all things that are for our good, that are done according to His will, are the things which are pleasing to God. Like any reasonable expectation, God has not asked this of us without providing us with all that we need in order to heal our bodies of any injuries or infirmities. The issue is that we don't trust Him at His word. In Numbers 21, verses 4 through 9, we read about the Israelites who were dying from venomous bites from serpents that they encountered in the desert. The Israelites asked Moses to pray to the Lord that the serpents be taken away, and so Moses prayed. God said to Moses to make a serpent and to set it on top of a pole, and instructed him that all those who look upon it once bitten will live, and so it was. What we see in this text is not that a brass serpent held any true bearing on whether or not the Israelites who looked upon it were healed, but a question of belief. To hear Moses' instruction and to immediately look toward the serpent if bit was to demonstrate belief in God's remedy, in His word. To search for one's own remedy or to disregard the serpent was a display of unbelief, which unfortunately resulted in death. Fast forward to today, and we find ourselves falling into the same patterns as the Israelites. We don't take care of our bodies by getting enough rest, water, exercise, and proper nutrition, so we become ill. In an effort to heal ourselves, we medicate with chemical concoctions that contain substances that poison our bodies and prove to be more harmful over time. We demonstrate unbelief in the natural healing power of foods, herbs, and medicinal plants that God has provided as a remedy for complete healing and restoration. As a nation, we spend billions of dollars on pharmaceuticals and experimental treatments without even considering the most powerful and effective medicine out there: belief in the restorative power of God's pharmacy. This is not to say that certain treatments or medicines for serious conditions are not valid. They absolutely have their place, and it's only through God's wisdom that human minds have been able to create certain life-saving treatments. The problem is that many of those treatments are only applied once sickness has taken root in the body, once damage has already been done, and oftentimes there are serious side effects, battle scars, and challenges that are encountered through the administration of such treatments. What we're talking about is preventative, number one, but it is also about that first step. What is the first thing that we put our trust in with regard to healing? Is it in man-made medicines that are meant to mimic the healing impact of nature? Or is it in the divine design of creation, in which all of God's creatures find themselves in perfect harmony with one another? The delicate balance of the symbiotic relationship between man and earth. Too often we see individuals who are too afraid to treat serious conditions with natural remedies for fear that they won't work, even after everything else has failed. If only we would just believe with our heart, soul, and mind in God's power to heal. If only we were to trust in his promises and claim that blessed assurance of peace. How much more quickly would we experience an end to our suffering? How much more quickly would we be healed? What nature provides to our bodies by way of health cannot be recreated in the lab. When applied appropriately, it can have complete healing power. When applied along with a treatment plan administered by a health facility or a hospital, it can help keep the healthy parts of the body in good health and significantly reduce harmful side effects. Still think that belief with regard to how we heal isn't important? Just remember the words found in Romans 4, verse 3, that Abraham believed God, and it was counted unto him as righteousness. Believing the word of our Father and the example set by Jesus' healing ministry is at the core of our faith, and is our belief in all things that lead us into a close walk with the Lord. Trust in him and lean on his understanding, for he knows the plans that he has for you, plans to prosper and not to harm you. Live abundantly in good health. Trust in the Lord and in his mighty power to restore. And until next time, be well in Christ.